Ali Mccoist is out of hiding and he's labelled it an absolute howler. Welcome back to Fog Football. We're going to get into his comments on Rangers' worst ever defeat in my eyes in the history of the game. I'm not even excited. I'm not happy, right? But we'll get into Ali Mccoist. And you know what? He's out of hiding. It is Wednesday. He did commit on Wednesday morning. You know what? I didn't hide. I'm not the only person that didn't hide, right? You know what I mean? A lot of people have been discussing this up and down the board. But you know what? Do I blame people for hiding? No. I wanted to hide. I wanted to hibernate. I wanted to hibernate for the rest of this winter, season, year, decade, millennium. You name it, man, because I just don't see it getting better any time soon. But we'll dive into the transcript here on TalkSport between Ali Mccoist and Alan Brazil. So we'll get into it, and when one of the other starts speaking, I'll say Brazil or McCoist. All right. So, and I quote McCoist: "The first thing you've got to say is that was an absolute howler. Stop laughing, Brazil. It's only because Queen's Park were the first team I ever watched as a kid. McCoist: Let me tell you, my boys as gutted as they were. Brazil: Tell me they were there. McCoist: No. Brazil: That's a shame." End of quote. Right. So there is more to get into, which we will dive into, but Alan Brazil, twist the knife. He kind of wanted McCoist's boys to be there for the pain, just to be that wee bit extra on them. I mean, very good, right? It was the first team that Alan Brazil watched, but that's not really a dig, is it? I mean, I think we need to look at the fact that, Queen's Park are recent. I mean, they're not long away from an amateur club and they're in the championship and they're fifth. Someone's first club could be Bayern Munich that they've watched, but it's not going to be a dig the night if something goes wrong there in Glasgow. So I don't. I get it. The first team you ever watched, but come on, doesn't really. That's not really the dig maybe Alan Brazil thought it was. But McCoist then goes, and I quote: "That's poor from you. You wanted them to suffer, but no, as gutted as they were, there was a resignation that it wasn't that big of a shock. It's terrible, the situation Rangers are in. That's got to be one of the worst cup shocks. Celtic getting beat for it by Inverness was up there as well. There's been a couple of pelters. Did Bora Rangers not beat Hearts? And arguably the biggest one of the lot was Darvel beating Aberdeen." End of quote. I mean, I think it's a matter of opinion about what's the worst cup defeat ever, or the worst defeat in Scottish football. I mean, for me, this is, I can't say undoubtedly, but for me, this is as bad as it's been for it. I mean, honestly, this is going to get talked about for years. Super Cali go ballistic, turn of millennium, that's been talked about for years. Darvel will get talked about beating Aberdeen. Things like that. I mean, you look across English football. There's been these results. That team that beat Liverpool at Anfield, I can't even remember, like Tamworth and something, I think they were called. It does happen. It does get remembered. It will always get remembered. McCoist does go on to say that it wasn't that big a shock. And I don't think it's him having a dig at Queen's Park. I think it's more the fact that Rangers are that bad. Is it really that much of a shock? But for me, it is. You're at home. Now, if this was away at Lesser Hampden, which it wouldn't have been at, but if it was a lesser or bigger, still, Rangers should be used to playing at Hampden. There's probably a joke in there that they're not used to playing at Hampden. But it's horrific no matter what way you spin it. But if it was an away day, it wouldn't. It would be horrific. It would be awful. But it wouldn't be quite as bad as Ibrox. If Darvel went to Pittodrie and beat Aberdeen, that would be the biggest for me. That absolutely would be. Darvel are so far down the leagues, but at home, home and away. End of the day, folks, it's a football pitch. I would still expect Aberdeen to beat Darvel. And the same with Rangers, whether it's Ibrox or some cowfield in the middle of nowhere, I would still expect Rangers to win the game of football against Queen's Park. But I understand the importance of home and away. So, yeah, Alan McCoy's out of hiding. I mean, what is there really to say? I think the sting has worn off, maybe, in terms of the media about Rangers' defeat to Queen's Park. But in terms of us Rangers, other clubs have got other things to look forward to, you know what I mean? The last eight of the Cup, Champions League, even Queen's Park, man, this will fuel them for the rest of the decade. We are probably the team in Scotland the most depressed right now. And I'm not saying I'd swap a possession for St Johnstone, but see, even St Johnstone have got things to be happy about. They're in the quarterfinals and they found some form, and it looks like they could actually stay up. You know what I mean? Even like Airdrie, sitting rock bottom, but they've won their last few games in the league and they're beginning to catch the teams above them. Honestly, out of the 42 teams in this pyramid, we have probably had the worst season so far. When you factor in like the scale of things and all that, it's it's crazy, man. Speechless. What is there to say?